this is for checkoff number 3. So we're going to be starting with femoral torsion, and yeah, so our parents have noticed some toe inning, so we're going to be doing some assessments to figure out where that's coming from. So the screen is the parent. So hi, my name's Hannah. I'm going to be your student physical therapist today. So I know you are concerned with some toe inning that your child has been displaying. So their feet are kind of facing towards each other. So what's really important for us to best diagnose and best treat this is to know where that toe inning, so why are they pointing towards each other? Is it coming from the hips? Is it coming more from the shin, from this rotation of like the shin or the tibia, or is it coming more from the foot? So I'm going to start by doing some different assessments, and we're going to see where that rotation is really coming from, okay? So the first one we're going to start with here is we're going to assess to see if it's coming from the hips. How we're going to do this is we're going to be looking at 2 different ranges of motions that our hips can do. So they can display internal rotation or external rotation. And so how we're going to do this is we're going to bring our legs down. We want to make sure we don't see any hip rising or hips moving, and that's when we know we're kind of at our end range. To manage your external rotation, we place one leg down and bring the other in. Again, looking for when that hip rises to know we're at the limit there. So we want to get objective measures of this. We want to make sure that we're being as accurate as possible. So I have my handy dandy goni here, and we're going to use it to help us assess what the actual ranges of motions are. So the fulcrum, the axis of the goni, is going to go right on the knee. We're going to have our stationary arm pointing up, so right in line with that sagittal plane. And then the moving arm is going to go with the tibia. So again, we're going to bring them down, keeping that stationary arm in the fulcrum. We're going to bring them down to where we make sure that they're right there at their limit before they go. And that would be right about there. So we're looking at about 50 degrees of internal rotation there, which is awesome because our normal value is less than 60. That's what we're looking for. Anything greater than 70 could be indicative that that toe inning is coming from the hips. And then again, we're going to do the exact same thing. So fulcrum, stationary arm right at those same locations, the knee and the sagittal plane. And then we're going to bring the leg into that external rotation, coming down, making sure that moving arm is staying stationary with the tibia, watching those hips, making sure they don't rise. We go right about there. We're right about 30 degrees of external rotation, which is good because we don't want to see a difference between internal and external rotation of greater than 45. That could also be indicative that that rotation is coming from the hips. So now we've cleared the hips. Next, we're going to move on to see if that rotation is coming from the tibia. So from that shin, is that actually what's causing the rotation? There's 2 ways to do this. So the first one is our thigh angle. So again, we're going to take the goni. I'll do this one because hopefully you can see it better. We'd always be measuring both sides. And so we'll be doing this one here. So fulcrum is going to go right in the midline of the heel. So fulcrum right in the heel, and then our stationary arm is going to be in line with the thigh. So we're going to line it up with that thigh, making sure it's nice and straight. They're just going to be in the resting position here, and we're going to see where that moving arm goes right through the foot. So those are kind of our landmarks there, and we'll assess. And he is just about 10 degrees there, so 10 degrees of slight toe outing. Our normal values are 10 to 15, so he's right in our normal, which is good. Anything greater than 20 could be indicative of toe outing, so the opposite problem that their child is displaying, or 0 or less than 0 would be indicative of toe inning. And then we're going to do, still assessing at that tibia, the second method. So we have the exact same setup for our goni, so the fulcrum right there in the midline, and then, in the middle of the heel, then our moving arm right in line with the thigh. our stationary arm right in line with our thigh. What makes this one different than the last one is my fingers are gonna find the malleoli. So those two big bumps on the side of our ankles, those are our malleoli. And I'm gonna position the moving arm so that it's bisecting those malleoli. We're gonna wanna see where we're at. So again, we are about about 9 degrees there. And again, our normal is 10 to 15. Anything greater than 20 would be indicative of toe outing. Anything less than 0 or 0 would be indicative of toe inning. So we're normal there. So the last thing to assess to see where that toe inning is coming from is it actually coming from the foot itself? So is the foot malaligned, and that's where it's coming from. So we already cleared the hips, we cleared the tibia, now let's look at the foot. So how we do this is we take our ruler of ergoni. It's really nice because it's clear and we can elongate it here. And we're gonna find kind of that midline of the heel and use that all the way down through the foot. So we're gonna find kind of the midline of the foot, and we're gonna see where the toes line up. So we're right about there, which is great because his line is landing right between the second and the third toes, which is what we want to see. If we see more toes on the inside of that line, that would be indicative that that rotation, that toe inning is coming from the foot. So it looks all normal on our patient here objectively. So yeah, that's that. All right, come on up to your knees. We'll move on to the Erb's palsy. So we have a 2-day-old who's presenting with Erb's palsy. Again, the screen will be our parent. So, hi, my name's Hannah. I see that your child has been diagnosed with Erb's palsy. I'm going to go over kind of the typical presentation of that, some different treatments, some different things we can do to help that, and when it's best to do that, okay? So, right Erb's palsy, so it would be here on the right side. You want to angle yourself just a little bit? There we go. Perfect. So Erb's palsy presents as the arm being close to the body, so that's called adduction. It's nice and close to the body. Our elbow is going to be an extension, so it's going to be straight. You're going to see internal rotation, so how our arm can rotate in or out. So internal rotation, that palm's facing away from you. We're going to see wrist flexion. So it's kind of that waiter's tip position is how it's described here. So this is going to be kind of that resting position that your child will display. So what can we do about it? So for the first 7 to 10 days, Erb's palsy is a nerve disruption. So the nerves in the shoulder have been disrupted, they've been injured, and that's why the arm is presenting in that way. So we need to give the nerves time to rest. So for 7 to 10 days, you aren't going to really do anything with the arm. We want to give that arm time to rest. But what you can do is you can just drape the arm across the abdomen. Make sure that they're not laying on that side. Just keep it resting here. We want to give those nerves time to heal. That's what the body needs, okay? After those 7 to 10 days, that's when we can begin to stretch. So if they're tight in this position, right? So the muscles are tight here. We need to work them into the opposite position to kind of get those muscles unwound, untight, okay? So if our typical presentation is here, we're gonna work at each joint to go the opposite direction. So we'll wanna start at the wrist. So you're gonna wanna bring the back of that wrist towards the forearm, so this extension. So you'll hold it here for 30 seconds when you feel that stretch, and then relax. Do it about 5 to 10 times, and we'll do all of these stretches 3 times a day. So that's the wrist. Then again, we have that palm facing away from you, so we're gonna wanna bring that palm up facing forward. So this is called supination. So you're gonna wanna rotate that arm so the palm is facing you. That's another stretch that we'll work on. Again, then we'll come up to the elbow. So if they're in extension, we wanna work towards that flexion. So you're gonna wanna go until you feel that stretch, feel them fighting, hold on for 30 seconds, and then bring it back down. Remember to always be gentle with this, but we do want to get that nice stretch. And then the last one, when that arm is close to the body, we want to work on bringing that arm out. So we'll have this, we'll work on this abduction, so bringing the arm away from the body, back down, working on that stretch. So we'll work on those things and hopefully see some improvements. Yeah, okay, bye.